Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line. We are back here on Purple Daily. I had a week off last week because of the draft, so excited to have Justin and Eric on here in just a minute. Vikings Vent Line is your show. It's a fan-friendly show. If you'd like to be a part of it, you can certainly do so by hitting me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. If you have thoughts on the draft, if you have thoughts on the season, if you have thoughts on anything Purple related, we're going to be here for you. I'd love to talk to and meet as many Vikings fans as possible. So if this is a show you'd like to be involved in, hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. Vikings Vent Line also powered by our friends at Standard Heating and Air conditioning season finally heating up here, pun intended, I guess, in the Twin Cities. We're in the 70s this weekend and 70s in the future, and hopefully getting hotter from there. So if you haven't already, need that AC tune-up, contact Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for all those needs. You don't need to DIY it. Let the experts handle it at Standard Heating and Air. They were a proud presenter of our Purple Daily Draft Party last week, and they're a proud sponsor of us here at Purple Daily. So if you're looking for any HVAC, air conditioning needs, go to standardheatingandair.com, standardheating.com, I should say. Tell them that Purple Daily sent you. Appreciate that. They do great work, and they're powering Vikings Vent Line. Okay, let's get our guys in here. Let's get Justin and Eric in here on Vikings Vent Line. Justin, we talked at the draft party last week. It was good to see you there. Eric, you're joining Vent Line for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Cool. And then Justin, you're also, I know, joining the actual physical show of Vent Line here for the first time. But Justin, you were obviously in attendance. Were you there the year before too?
Nope, first time.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you were there, man. It was a lot of fun. We're gonna, I hope the Fillmore, where we were the last 2 years, is the spot where we can be in the future for other seasons. But I'm glad you had a great time, man. I hope you had a good time rocking with Vikings fans too.
Oh, I loved it. Thanks so much again for presenting it. It was a great time, and I'd love to do it again someday if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Eric, so your background is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're kind of new to the Vikings because you have a University of Michigan podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not mine. I'm a co-host on a Michigan Wolverines podcast. It's on the Maze Madman channel on YouTube. And I'm also a frequent guest on the Voice of College Football at Michigan. I actually kind of got pulled into it last October just because I met the guys and would talk sports with them all the time and got invited to come on. And then they decided to keep me on as a permanent co-host. But as far as the Vikings fandom, it's kind of interesting. I'll try to summarize it a little bit. So I never really had a pro team. I moved all over the country. I was always a diehard Michigan fan, but I never really had a pro team growing up. So I was a fan of players, and I always had a liking to the Vikings with guys like Adrian Peterson, Jared Allen, Percy Harvin. Those were some of my favorite players, regardless of not having a team. A little more than a year ago, when JJ McCarthy declared for the draft, and they were talking about where he might get picked, and it kept coming up like the Vikings, the Falcons, a couple of the teams. And so I started doing sort of looking up podcasts for the different teams, and some of the podcasts, your guys' podcast, Vocal Vike, GG Sports podcast, a couple of the guys in the Vikings community. I loved the podcast, but I also got to talk to those guys and felt very welcome by them and the community and the fans in the chat. So I started to become a Vikings fan even before JJ got drafted. So on draft night, I'm just sitting there like, please fall to the Vikings, please. And so I'm just ecstatic that he has, and I'm all in on the Vikings now.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, welcome to this community. Awesome that other podcasts and other just spaces have been doing that for you. Obviously, you're on Vent Line. We try to give every week, and then during the regular season, it's a great time. We bring as many fans as possible on right after games, but during the offseason, I still like to give fans, whether new or old, a voice to give thoughts on the Vikes. So welcome aboard. Well, let's get into the draft class here. So Justin, I know you were there for round one at the Fillmore with us last Thursday. What were your kind of thoughts on Kwesi's draft class overall?
Yeah, I thought it was, with the limited amount of picks they had, a pretty good, solid draft class. I really don't have any complaints. I think the board, unfortunately, fell not the way Minnesota probably was hoping for, with the run on defensive tackles and the offensive linemen. But if you kind of look around where Minnesota was picking and pick 24, Houston was right behind them. So I imagine Donovan Jackson was one of their big targets. And then kind of what was on the board, I guess you could argue Malachi Starks may have been a better prospect. But if you're looking at the draft, generally, you're looking at not only people who can be an impact on day one for you as an organization, but also for the future. So if you kind of look around where people were picked, Donovan Jackson sliding into left guard as an immediate starter and for the future, I feel like they got really good value, and especially considering what we saw on the offensive line in round one, because he had Josh Simmons and then Josh Carnley go as well. And I know they play tackle. There's some argument maybe Josh Carnley is a little bit more measurable to Donovan Jackson, but I feel like where Minnesota was sticking and picking, ultimately fine with me, would have been good to trade down, ideally. I don't think they would have got Donovan Jackson, though, if they did trade down. And for the rest of the draft, I really, really, really like Ty Felton. I'm an Iowa alum. I was an intern with the Iowa football team for a couple of years, so cool. I love watching the Hawkeyes play, obviously. Ty Felton had one of his best games last season against Iowa, 2 touchdowns, about 6 catches, 62 yards, I think. And he beat that zone pretty consistently that Iowa likes to run. Phil Parker, amazing defensive coordinator. I know it's homerism, but Ty Felton had a really good game against him. I'm really excited to see what he can do for us with his measurables. He's about 6'1", 185 pounds. Vertical jump about 40 inches, ran a 4.37, 4.8, 3.8. Really excited to see what he can do. Kevin O'Connell going in the future. I know people will argue receivers maybe not a need for them, but again, I disagree, because in the draft, you always look for the future and what that prospect can do for you, not only immediately, but in the future as well.
Yeah, limited picks, right? Just the 5 picks, but Donovan Jackson, they continue to just kind of improve that offensive line from a really busy offseason. I'm pretty good with it. Yep. And yeah, I mean, with the trade back offers and the trade back situations, I'm sure that probably was on top of their mind, but I like sticking and picking. And I guess, Eric, good segue to you. You know, they had great offensive lines and good running games with JJ McCarthy at Michigan. Mm-hmm. You know, they've now rebuilt essentially, and I guess it's an assumption right now. It's not a guarantee that Donovan Jackson's a starting guard. I'd like to think he probably is your week 1 starting guard, at least one of them. But they're insulating McCarthy with a lot of protection, with a lot of playmakers. What did you think of the Vikings draft class?
So my initial reaction the night 1 and night 2, I was not a huge fan of Donovan Jackson and Ty Felton picks. However, the Donovan Jackson pick, I think it just took me by surprise, because I didn't expect him to go offensive guard that early. And of course, you know, I had been this whole draft cycle had been hoping that Kenneth Grant would fall to us, right? But even though he is a Buckeye, I will say that Donovan Jackson, everything I've heard from the people that I know around the program, he's a great character guy. He's very versatile, very athletic. He can slot into guard, tackle, wherever we need him to, which may come into use at the start of the season if Darrisaw's not fully back. He's a good pick, and anyone that can add to the team, that can add to the protection of JJ and add to his success, I'm okay with. And like I said, there were a couple guys on the Buckeyes that I actually, as a Michigan fan, did like. Travion Henderson and Donovan Jackson were 2 of those, mainly because of the character of both of those guys. With Ty Felton, again, that was one that just kind of took me by surprise. With having Jalen Naylor, Rondale Moore, I didn't think that another wide receiver was as high of a priority, but we're not seeing what the coaches see in camp. And Ty Felton is incredibly athletic. He's he had like a 4.3 40, I think, at the combine. And he really thrived in what was a subpar offense at Maryland. I think they were ranked in the 80s nationally in their offensive ranking. So the way I look at it now is if Kevin O'Connell looked at Ty Felton and said, I can do something with him, he can help our team, I'm all for it. And again, it's another target for JJ.
I love that you're a Michigan guy. Justin, you're an Iowa guy. I mean, to be honest, I am not a Gopher dude. I didn't go to the U of M. I didn't really grow up being a huge college football or Gopher football fan. But I do love that the universal, like, okay, like, I hate Ohio State because I'm from Michigan, but also, like, I can get down with that guard helping out J.J. McCarthy.
Absolutely. I also think there's a funny thing here. I haven't heard anybody bring it up. So we got Kobe King from Penn State. His twin brother was drafted by the Packers last year.
That's right.
So his twin brother is I think a DB for the Packers. So that'll be an extra added layer of fun for the Vikings Packers games.
Yeah, a lot of Big Ten dudes, right? I mean, they drafted 3 Big Ten guys: Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State. So some Big Ten connections there, which is cool. And then Kobe King, a position of linebacker where I think we kind of forget about it, right? We were all talking going into the draft on the trenches. Yeah, maybe you could find another wide receiver, cool. Maybe a running back, cool. But linebacker, kind of a forgotten position. And Kobe King could actually maybe step in and make an impact right away, which will be obviously pretty big. Yeah, we'll wait and see. It's hard to really evaluate a draft class over the last 8 days and project it forward. It's difficult to do. If we were good at it, we would be probably working in NFL circles. But I think overall, with the limited picks and what they had working with them, that they did a pretty good job here and set themselves up for immediate and hopefully long-term success as well. Justin, how many wins for the Vikings, though, in 2025? I think the over-under is only like 8.5 right now, and that's mostly just because no one's ever seen McCarthy play a regular season game. How many wins do you have the Vikings penciled in for next year?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So going back for a long time, my dad and I always, when the schedule releases, first thing we do is go through every single game and kind of pick the matchups and try to get some projected wins and losses. So I know my dad and I are looking forward to that again. I kind of am thinking, honestly, I don't expect this team to win 14 games again. That is a very tough ask. That's not realistic for any team in the NFL. It's very tough to win games in the NFL. I truly believe, though, that the core of this team is set up for success and to win now. They will play a tougher schedule. The AFC North is on the schedule this year, if I believe, and obviously they got some powerhouses at quarterback in that division, save for Cleveland, which no shade, but that's just the truth of it. I do believe, though, that this team is at least a 10-win team, in my view. I would be very, very disappointed with anything less than 10 wins out of this team. I think they're built to win now, and I think they're set up well for the future. So I'm expecting at least 10, personally.
Yeah, I think 10's a fair expectation considering the year they had. They do have there's some tough opponents in the schedule, especially even the home schedule specifically. Yep. But I think just assuming, like a 12 win, 11-12, or repeating a 14, I mean, that's damn near impossible in today's NFL unless you have Patrick Mahomes or et cetera. So, I think something in between 10 and 11 wins would be huge. The division's expected to be really good again. It might be the most competitive division in football, especially if the Bears players that they've signed and also drafted start making an immediate impact. Then you're talking about 4 teams that realistically have playoff paths. So, I think the 8.5, I understand why people think it's disrespectful, but it just falls under a quarterback who hasn't played yet. I think McCarthy's going to be awesome. Yep. Eric, you watched a lot of him at Michigan, but I'm excited to see what he can do. How many wins do you have, Eric, for the Vikings in 2025?
So I was going through the schedule, and I'm sitting between 10 and 12. So I settled on 11-6 because there's 2 games, 1 home and 1 away, that I'm really kind of unsure of. I think that the one that home that really makes me kind of waver on is the Commanders. I think we'll get a win there, but Jaden Daniels, he's stepped up. And of course, I've got that Wolverine, Mikey Sainer, still is just a phenom on defense. But then, and then also the Cowboys on the road. I think that we're a better team than the Cowboys, but on the road in Dallas is not always the easiest place to play, even if you have the better team. So I'm settling on 11-6 overall record.
Okay, 11-6. I like it. Taking a look too, just on what they've been able to do with McCarthy, they're going to bring in Sam Howell as their backup quarterback here. The options were kind of flying off the board. Daniel Jones probably would have been their preferred option. He signs for bigger money and probably a better opportunity to start right away. Other guys fall off. They end up trading for Sam Howell. I mean, you can kind of weirdly enough loop in Sam Howell as part of their draft class, I guess, from a week ago. Eric, are you good with Sam Howell as QB2? Again, you don't want to use the break glass in case of emergency situation for quarterback 2 with any team in the NFL. But I guess your thoughts on Sam Howell being the backup to McCarthy.
So I am good with it, with the assumption that Kevin O'Connell, like the magic he worked with Sam Darnold, is able to specifically address the interception problem with Sam Howell. He throws a lot of interceptions that he shouldn't throw. Outside of that, I feel like he really has exceeded any expectation he had as a 5th-round draft pick. I mean, that one year he started for the Commanders, he threw for, I think it was just under 4,000 yards. It was just, he had a ridiculously high amount of interceptions as well. So I am really good with him as a backup, assuming that Kevin O'Connell can coach those bad decisions out of him. And the best part of it is that getting him in kills all the talk of bringing Aaron Rodgers in, and I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, I look, once upon a time, I was all for the idea of Aaron Rodgers maybe finishing the job. Brett Favre could not, but at this point, no. And, you know, if they had not drafted McCarthy last year, okay, I might be able to get down with it. I might be able to get down with another weird random carpet ride with a journeyman, former top-tier quarterback. But yeah, I'm kind of glad. I think Howell's going to be a solid backup quarterback option. Justin, how about you, though? Right. What do you think of Howell as a backup?
So shout out to Judd here. I actually prepared for this.
Nice.
Have a notebook here. So. I was just going back through his pre-draft process, and I was looking at Lance Zierlein's evaluation really quickly. And honestly, what he's shown in the NFL was pretty accurate, what Lance has here. So for negatives, he doesn't look the safety off. He holds the ball a little bit too long, takes unnecessary sacks. He's a little bit of the tendency to pat the ball too, which, you know, we've had some quarterbacks, don't want to name them, who do that. Leads to unnecessary sacks. But his strengths, I feel, will fit really well in Kevin O'Connell's system, especially that his strength is looking for his third option, not just staring down one or two, kind of looking for where that slot receiver's going, where the tight end's going, maybe where that flare route's going for the back. Also, he has a tendency for looking for explosive plays, which, again, if we kind of circle back to when Kevin O'Connell was hired here, that was one of his big goals with Kirk Cousins, was to unlock that next step in his game and looking for explosive throws down the field. So he definitely has some positives there. At UNC, I mean, he took over after Trubisky went and, you know, top 5 pick, and he was expected himself at one time to be kind of in that upper echelon of quarterbacks. Had a really good season freshman year, I believe, in the ACC, and then kind of unfortunately his play just dropped off, it seems like. I feel that clearly the Vikings were looking for someone who was young, someone they could develop. The free agent market really just didn't have that, unless you're really considering, you know, Mac Jones or Zach Wilson really is those developmental guys that with some higher upside. And I personally would have been fine if Kevin O'Connell felt that those two quarterbacks would have been someone they were targeting, but they clearly had a plan in mind, and I don't mind trading the draft capital for the quarterback, especially if Kevin O'Connell sees the upside there. I'm fully on board with what he sees, and I'm actually kind of excited to see what Sam Howell could bring in Minnesota. I hope he doesn't need to play, you know, because that would mean something's gone wrong with J.J. McCarthy, right, which I'm so excited to see J.J. McCarthy play. But I have no problem with it. I think he's going to be a great asset to the team personally.
Hopefully we only see him in the garbage minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Garbage time, hand the ball off, taking the knees, then we're all good there. I think Howell needs the QB rehab school, right? The thing that has made Sam Darnold, he was the starter, made him into a big payday. Josh Dobbs has had moments. Nick Mullins has moments. Daniel Jones, you know, had a stop here and then gets another opportunity to play. I think Sam Howell can benefit here from just being in the infrastructure and being behind McCarthy and with Kevin O'Connell. Before we wrap up here, Justin, any hot takes, anything you want to get off your chest here? Any shout outs before we wrap on Ventline? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just so thrilled finally that the Vikings have prioritized the offensive line. I'll be 32 next month, so I'm about the same age as you, Declan. And honestly, throughout my lifetime as a Vikings fan, I can remember all the years of our interior line play probably not being up to standards. I mean, we've had our Tom Comptons, unfortunately, no shade again, but we've tried to kind of just plug and play guys. I'm really, really thankful that they finally prioritized, you know, the center position and both guard positions. And I'm really looking forward to maybe having a top 10 offensive line for once. So it's really good to see. And being a former high school offensive lineman myself, gotta love it. Love it.
Love it. Eric, how about you, man? Any last takes, any shout outs here on Ventline? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I just I'll shout out. I want to give a big shout out to the podcasts that have brought me on and into their community, both on the Viking side and with the Michigan Wolverines. I've mentioned a few of them earlier, but like GG Sports Podcast, those guys, Vocal Vike, you guys, I watch you guys daily, every day. That's the first thing I do when I wake up, and just the community itself with the Vikings has been so welcoming and made me feel, like I said, they really truly made me start becoming a fan before we even got JJ. So it was kind of because of JJ, but it really wasn't JJ that made me a Vikings fan. So I just want to send a shout out to everybody that has contributed to that and making me feel welcome as a newer Vikings fan.
Yeah, it's a great community. It's a great place to be. And I mean, we pride ourselves on this show at least, and write that down, bringing fans on. We want to make sure people know that this is a fan friendly show and a show that's welcoming to new or old Vikings fans. So I think that's awesome. And then you have a GoFundMe going too, Eric, is something too. I know you were talking about it off mic. Is that something you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. To try to summarize it, I had moved back to Michigan a few years ago to help my mother, who was fighting both lung and stomach cancer. She is in her 70s and didn't feel safe living by herself anymore. I moved up here to take care of her, and shortly after I moved up here, I had a little bit of an accident, but met with a neurosurgeon who has made it so that I am not cleared to work right now. I have to get major neck surgery, major back surgery, and a few other minor surgeries before I would be ready to go back to work. And I'm currently trying to get in the process of trying to get temporary disability to get me through the multiple years of surgery and recovery that I'm going to have to go through. Unfortunately, the process for somebody who is not yet 40 to get disability is a very long and difficult process. And so I did start a GoFundMe a couple months ago to try to help me keep bills paid for taking my mother and I to our doctor's appointments, just to not end up homeless in this process. So I do have it. If anyone wants to see the link, if you go on X at Kinetic 615 or Eric W Kinetic 615, it's KINETIK 615 on X. It's in my profile. It's pinned on my page. You were more than welcome to inbox me, and I try to be as open and transparent with what I'm going through and what the money's used for as possible. But I just appreciate anybody that even takes a look at it, whether you donate or not, share it out. And anybody that even takes the time to consider, I really appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. Yeah. And best wishes obviously to yourself and your mom there and in your recovery. And yeah, for the audience to it, I'll drop it here in the YouTube comment section. So if you do see it there, if you weren't able to find it, it's there as well. Eric, Justin, awesome stuff here though on Vikings Vent Line. Great takes, great Big Ten, little reunion here on Purple Daily. Whether you're SEC, Big Ten, the old Pac-12, Pac-10, whatever the hell we're calling it now, it's a welcoming spot here on Purple Daily and Vikings Vent Line. Appreciate you guys. Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.